Big American families like big things, big sporting events, buying in bulk, and enormous three-row SUVs and crossovers. Today we're comparing two hot new entrants into the three-row crossover segment with the Mazda CX90 to replace its venerable CX-9 three-row crossover, and then Toyota's Highlander was never quite big enough for the large American family, so therefore it got the Grand Highlander treatment. Today we're comparing the built in Japan Mazda CX90 against the built in America Toyota Grand Highlander. The Mazda CX90 comes in at just a hair under $40,000 before destination, and it will top out in its Turbo S Premium Plus model, eclipsing over $60,000 after destination. It is the most expensive Mazda vehicle ever brought to America. The Toyota Grand Highlander really doesn't have a base grade. The XLE is very well equipped, starting at $43,000, which is a direct comparison to the Turbo Preferred package for the CX90. Then we go all the way to the top grade Hybrid Max Platinum at $58,125. After destination, you'll be looking around $60,000, just like the top of the line Mazda. Now, Mazda has a completely separate pricing range for its separate powertrain, the plug-in hybrid, which starts at about $47,000 and tops off at about $57,000 before destination. And I feel like this is a great segue into comparing the powertrains. So let's go back onto Mazda. Mazda's base engine is not a 4-cylinder. It's a 3.3-liter inline-6 turbocharged engine mated to an 8-speed auto, producing 280 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque, getting around 25 miles per gallon. But you can get an overboosted Turbo S model, which comes in many different trim levels as well, but producing 60 more horsepower with 340 and about 30 more pound-feet of torque at 369. Now, Mazda's powertrain is longitudinally mounted, which means it sends most of its power to the rear wheels. But if you're buying a Mazda, you also get all-wheel drive standard, regardless of which trim level and how much you're paying. Every single Mazda with the 3.3 turbo is actually a hybrid. It has an electric motor that can power the vehicle at really low speeds, which helps improve in fuel economy, but it can also coast in fully electric mode as well. But what about that plug-in hybrid adding more electrification? Well, you have about 130 horsepower just from the electric motor on this model, and it produces, with the 4-cylinder, 323 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. And on fully electric drive, with the battery topped off, you can get up to 26 miles of electric range, and that's something that the Grand Highlander just doesn't offer at this point in time. So heading back to the Grand Highlander, it comes with a base 2.4-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, front-wheel drive standard. All-wheel drive will cost you a little bit more money. 8-speed automatic transmission is standard, and it is primarily front-wheel drive driven, even in the all-wheel drive model. 265 horsepower and a little over 300 pound-feet of torque here. Miles per gallon on the 4-cylinder turbo for Toyota should be around the low 20s. But Toyota also has two hybrid models, the base one getting incredible fuel economy. It does have a modest 243 horsepower, but you'll be getting over 35 miles per gallon on this 3-row family hauler. It's front-wheel drive standard and available with all-wheel drive. The range-topping powertrain for the Grand Highlander is the Hybrid Max, and this has 362 horsepower mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission, and it adds a big electric motor in the back for additional propulsion. It's just a hair quicker compared to the Turbo S model Mazda in a straight line. And fuel economy goes up as well, compared to the Turbo 4-cylinder from the low 20s now up to around 27 miles per gallon on the Hybrid Max. In terms of exterior design, they take completely different approaches. The Mazda is more of a sculpted, rounded, more elegant and luxurious looking vehicle, while Toyota's decided to go the more brawny, hard-edged, aggressive, sporty design. On the base model, Toyota's decided 18-inch wheels are more than okay, which look kind of dorky on such a big vehicle. Mazda's given its base model 19-inch wheels, which look much more appropriate for such a big 3-row family hauler. On the top models for Mazda, you can get 21-inch wheels, and Toyota's wheels max out at a handsome but not quite as impressive 20-inch style. I think most people would be happy with the looks of both, and there's nothing really about the Grand Highlander other than its tiny wheels in the base model that really stick out to me as a detraction. But for the CX90, it's taken a little bit more of a radical approach, especially with the back. When you see this vehicle straight on from the back, it kind of looks like a minivan, but that's really only from that one angle because the rest of the angles look pretty strong for this more sculpted, luxurious CX90. Now, comparing the interior design, we're going to look at the top models here, the Hybrid Max Platinum for Toyota versus the quilted tan interior from Mazda. There's no denying the Grand Highlander is a larger vehicle on the inside, and that is going to make for happier passengers, especially in the third row. For the cockpit, it is very ergonomic, but we have much cheaper materials compared to the Mazda all around. However, we do have a large 12-inch screen here that is very passenger-centric, where you can use as a touchscreen. There is no touchpad or rotary dial interface. We have a large digital screen behind the steering wheel. You'll have an optional head-up display as well. But Mazda is going straight for the regal luxury end with wood finishes. We have very high-quality stitching on the seats as well as suede on the dash. There's real no comparison in terms of luxury feel. The Mazda will take the cake every single time here. The only big gripe for me on the Mazda interior is the rotary dial exclusive interface. Yes, it does enable touchscreen interface when you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but not when you're using the inbuilt software from Mazda. You have to actually use the rotary dial. So the Toyota definitely comes out ahead in terms of spaciousness, stowable capacity for the passengers, while offering equal safety and technology compared to the Mazda. And in terms of cargo capacity, this is where Toyota is king, offering around 20 cubic feet of cargo space. Now, the Mazda CX90 is definitely a big improvement compared to its outgoing CX-9 for cargo space, but with still only around 15 cubic feet, it just can't come close to Toyota's 20. So I made a spreadsheet, which will tally up the scores from all the categories of these 2 3-row crossovers. And when we add all those scores up, we should get a clear answer on which powertrains and trim levels are the best buy. Unfortunately, we would be here all day if I compared every single powertrain mated to every different trim level, because it's just like an endless combination. So I took the trim levels that match up best against each other, the Turbo S from Mazda competing against the Hybrid Max, the plug-in hybrid competing against Toyota's hybrid, and then Mazda's base turbo competing against Toyota's base turbo. So let the games begin. In terms of acceleration, Mazda CX90 plug-in hybrid as well as the 3.3-liter turbo inline 6, 0 to 60 is around 7 seconds. But the overboosted Turbo S model gets it closer to around 6.5 seconds, 0 to 60. Toyota's Grand Highlander with the 2.4 liter is in the mid 7s. It's hybrid. Well, it's still trying to get to 0 to 60 since I started this presentation. And the Hybrid Max has the fastest 0 to 60 in around 6.3 seconds. Just as important as acceleration for families is miles per gallon. Even Mazda's base CX90 Turbo is a hybrid and gets you 25 miles per gallon, just like the overboosted Turbo S model. And your miles per gallon could essentially be infinite with the plug-in hybrid if you're using electric range all the time, which will make it by far the most efficient vehicle on this list today, even beating out Toyota's Grand Highlander hybrid, which gets about 35-36 miles per gallon. When you add all-wheel drive, it might drop a little bit, where Mazda's plug-in hybrid is standard all-wheel drive. The 2.4 turbo gets around 21 miles per gallon, where its Hybrid Max comes in at around 27 miles per gallon, eclipsing even Mazda's 6-cylinder hybrid models. In terms of refinement, Toyota's powertrains take the cake here. Mazda just came out with this sort of setup, new engines, new transmissions, and it shows when you drive the vehicle. The transmission can be a bit clunky sometimes, and its iStop feature on the hybrid models, not the plug-in since I haven't tested that one yet, but its iStop feature can be a bit jarring when that 6-cylinder fires up while you're coasting or just in normal driving. There's no sort of weird quirks or annoyances with Toyota's setups. They're all super refined, buttery smooth, very predictable, and feel like they've been around for 20 years. In terms of towing capacity, Mazda's plug-in hybrid and base models only tow about 3,500 pounds. However, most of their trim levels actually tow up to 5,000 pounds, and that is on the Turbo S, but also on the non-Turbo S models with certain packages, it tows 5,000 pounds. Now for Toyota, this is where they have a slight advantage. All of their models tow, with the 2.4 turbo anyways, 5,000 pounds. Its hybrid, though, only tows 3,500 pounds at best case scenario, and its Hybrid Max tows 5,000 pounds as well. So a slight advantage overall here for Toyota's Grand Highlander. And I had to throw this in here because I do feel like this is an advantage for Mazda, is its all-wheel drive is standard. Regardless of trim level, regardless of powertrain, where Toyota, the only way you can get it standard is on the Hybrid Max powertrain. Otherwise, you're paying a little bit more to get all-wheel drive on the turbo as well as the hybrid compared to the front-wheel drive standard models. Comparing the chassis, these vehicles couldn't be any more different. The Mazda CX90 feels like a three-row version of its MX-5 sports car, and the steering feel is razor sharp and very communicative, and the front wheels never feel overwhelmed with its rear-wheel drive bias. Steering feel on the Toyota is loose, it's a bit rubber bandy, and it feels really average overall, so giving it a 3 is almost a favor. However, Toyota actually blows the Mazda away when it comes to brake feel. It's very predictable, maybe not the firmest of pedals, but I had no issues with the stopping of the Grand Highlander in every single powertrain. And the Mazda CX90, the brake pedal has a really aggressive bite at low speeds. It's kind of hard to drive in low speed situations as well as parking lots or when you're parking the vehicle. And it's just unfortunate because everything else about the driving dynamics is really, really solid. So the brake feel is just under refined, kind of like its transmission and hybrid quirks that it has as well. Handling for the Mazda CX90 goes hand in hand, pun intended, with the steering feel. It feels great. There's very little body roll. You accelerate out of turn, you get shoved forward from the rear wheels. It is an awesome experience to drive. In Hawaii, driving the Grand Highlander on those beautiful roads, I just wanted a better handling experience. The steering I could have lived with, but when you push the Grand Highlander hard into turns, it feels like half of the vehicle's going one way and the other half is twisting the other. It's just not a confidence-inspiring machine, and it needs to be far more rigid in every single trim level. Ride quality is pretty similar on both of them. However, the Grand Highlander, while it really exceeded in its low speed, going over speed bumps, it was very, very comfortable and well damped. When you hit broken pavement, it shudders the whole vehicle. You can feel a lot of vibrations coming through the floor, and it's just unfortunate because it is very, very quiet. It has acoustic glass on these models. There's very little wind noise, and I just drove the Sienna yesterday to Miami and back. There was a ton of wind noise on the Sienna, and that's where the Grand Highlander really succeeds, is noise quality and lack of exterior noise. Mazda's pretty average when it comes to noise coming in from the air and the road, and the ride quality, even though it's firm on the Mazda, takes just a little advantage over the so-so ride quality of the Toyota. Our last category here, starting with ergonomics. I think the Toyota wins here just by a little bit, mainly because of the touchscreen experience is better than the rotary dial lock-in experience on the Mazda. Seating capacity. The Mazda can have up to 8 seats, but on the Turbo S model, I'm actually going to drop this down to 1 because on the Turbo S, you can only have 6 seats. The Grand Highlander and the Hybrid Max can feature 7 seats, even with captain's chairs. Third row space, Toyota takes a cake here. Mazda doing better compared to the CX-9, but not as good as the Toyota cargo space. Same thing, better than the CX-9 for the Mazda, but nowhere near as accommodating as the Grand Highlander. Materials. This is where Mazda is just overwhelmingly impressive, where Toyota's, especially on the XLE grade, is a plastic experience, and it gets a little bit better on the mid and upper grades. Fit and finish for Mazda, built from Japan. These things feel like they're elite level luxury in terms of fit and finish and build quality. The Toyota's good, no doubt. As a Toyota, we know it's going to be solid built, but it just didn't have that same sort of luxury feel that the Mazda did. Exterior styling, this is more subjective. It's pretty much a tie. Both of them giving up and exceeding in different ways. Interior styling, I would take the Mazda every single time as well, even though it's not quite as functional with the ergonomics of the Toyota. It just makes me happy sitting in there looking at the beautiful materials, the beautiful design, the styling, the stitching, etc. Let's get a drum roll for first place. Is it going to be Mazda with the CX90 or is it going to be Toyota with the Grand Highlander Hybrid Max? After tallying the scores, we actually have a tie for first place. We have the Grand Highlander Hybrid Max with the most powerful powertrain, but with also really impressive fuel economy at the same time. And then you have the Mazda CX90 plug-in hybrid, which gives us such a unique experience compared to the rest of these powertrains on the list, offering over 25 miles of purely electric range, offering great performance, efficiency, flexibility, great luxury overall, and just an impressive vehicle. So well done, CX90 plug-in hybrid and Hybrid Max for the Grand Highlander. Coming in second and third place, though, are straight back to Mazda with the Turbo S model, just a few points behind first place. It loses out a little bit in refinement and efficiency compared to the plug-in hybrid model, and that's what set it back. Then the lowest price Mazda CX90 actually coming in third place here, with its impressive fit and finish, build quality, luxury, and powertrain, setting it in third place. Coming in next, just a couple points behind, is the Grand Highlander hybrid. It's incredibly refined, it's incredibly efficient, it's just really lacking in the acceleration department. I think it just hit 60 miles per hour. And in last place, and in my opinion, the least, this is by far the least impressive vehicle on this list with this powertrain as well. The 2.4 liter turbo Toyota Grand Highlander. Its refinement is great. It just doesn't have the power nor the efficiency of the rest of the vehicles on this list today. So do you agree with my results today that Mazda's trio of CX90s consistently outbeat and outpace Toyota's Grand Highlander? It really just depends on what's most important to you. If space and ergonomics are most important to you, then I can see the Grand Highlander being a better deal. But even after testing the CX90 with my family of small kids, I would much rather have this vehicle. My wife would as well. We were just impressed with the overall luxury, the fit and finish, the quality of the materials, and how this vehicle just made us feel. I was always happy to drive it. I was always eager to get inside and spend time with the CX90. And I haven't spent a lot of time with the Grand Highlander outside of it in my driving impressions in Hawaii, but it never just felt special. It just felt utilitarian. It felt like more of an appliance, where the Mazda felt like it had character, a soul, a personality to it that was very rewarding. But I'm getting it there. I'll see you guys battle it down below. Both of them are great in their own areas. I just think the CX90 takes the cake in just about every single situation. I'll catch you guys in the next one. If you want to see more comparisons like this, smash the like button. I also didn't put my face on screen. So if you'd like to see my face, or you don't care to have my face in it, whatever, it's easier for me. My hair is a mess and I'm probably a bit smelly, which never comes across on camera anyways. But at least I don't have to look presentable for you guys. But I'm going to shut it down there. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.